This is the Dallas Morning News.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into SportsDay Insider presented by the Dallas Morning News. I am Kevin Sherrington, joined by my pals Grant and Brad Townsend. Big news dropped by the Mavericks on Monday when they announced that, although it's still tentative, but that they are targeting the Valley View site in Dallas and not anything downtown or around downtown. Brad's joining us today to talk about that, what that means for the Mavericks, what that means for the city of Dallas, what that means, also for the Stars, because they have some pending news as well about moving to Little Bend Mall in Plano. So, Brad, let's kind of just jump in right there and let's talk about, first of all, kind of explain to everybody what it is that the Mavericks have agreed to do or what they have made tentative plans to do.
Yeah, starting with the Mavs, they have executed, it's termed as tentative agreements that to purchase 104 of the 110-acre area that used to be the mall, Valley View Mall. And the reason it's being called, it's a safeguard, right? This is going to happen. The agreement will go through, but it's to safeguard the Mavericks during the zoning process. If zoning process goes, haywire, or maybe the city of Dallas doesn't come up with the right terms for the Mavs in making this development happen, well, that gives the Mavs the ability to pull out of the agreement. But listen, the city has to bend over backwards to make this work, or else it becomes a Valley View versus Irving potential, because the Mavericks also own 259 acres. I shouldn't say the Mavericks; it's actually Sands Corporation, of which Patrick Dumont is the CEO and chairman. Sands owns 259 acres in Irving near the Texas Stadium site. The other reason that the impetus is really on the city is that we learned on Tuesday the Stars have signed a letter of intent to develop with the city of Plano to have their arena and entertainment district on the former site, on the current site of Willow Bend Mall. And so the reason we know about that is because that agenda item to be voted on by this Plano City Council was placed on the agenda list at 4:30 on Tuesday. The Plano City Council vote will not be until Monday, but obviously that appearing on the agenda certainly threw open Pandora's box for, okay, this letter of intent has been signed.
Now, Brad, I want to go back to a couple of things here, but there's a lot of things obviously to explore in all of this, and it is just continually roiling the waters here around downtown, the city council and the city manager, and how all this has been handled. And there's a lot of different takes on it, and how people feel about what's been done here. I want to start with we'll just narrow it down at this moment to the Mavericks. This feels like, to me, the best case scenario for the Mavericks, because they had, I think, initially talked about a 50-acre site for building this. Now they're getting 104, which obviously they can do whatever they want with it. And they're I guess, in these initial plans, it included not only an arena, it included a 5,000-seat music center or a place to have concerts and things.
That's called a venue. Venue is the correct word. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Listen, I've read your stuff. Okay, So let me just stop right there. And then a luxury hotel, I don't know, various assorted other things. I
Well,
didn't say
it'll
anything
also
about
include. It's very significant. It's also going to include the Mavericks headquarters, and
headquarters
it's also
and their
going
practice
and their
facility
training
as well.
facility,
Yeah.
they are tied in with the UT Southwestern, and so their training facility will have pretty high tech. There'll be a lot of cross working with UT Southwestern in terms of their training facility and the medical science available to the players.
Yeah, so this just seems to me to fit them the best of any possible or potential Dallas site because of all of that and everything they can do with it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, there's arguments there, but I think the biggest thing is that it's tough to find 50 acres in downtown Dallas,
right.
and so um, ideally, the city should have found two suitable 50-acre sites because putting all your eggs in the what to do with City Hall basket, that has become problematic as time has gone on because there doesn't seem to be a near end in sight in terms of making a decision on whether to keep City Hall or whether to tear it down and find another option for the City Hall offices to be moved to. And so the Mavericks have already moved back their timeline twice. Initially, they wanted to make a decision by the end of 2025. Then it became they wanted to make a decision on the site by the end of the first quarter of 2026. Then it became more a hard deadline of July the 1st. And it's become very evident that to the Mavericks that July the 1st, the city was not going to be able to meet that July the 1st. And then even if let's just say the city had decided to move in another direction and tear down City Hall, well, that's going to take, I mean, can you imagine how long that's going to take to tear down City Hall? So this gives the city, the Mavericks, the opportunity to just sit back and say, okay, listen, Dallas, you need to do what you need to do with City Hall. We have found our site in Dallas. And so I think to speaking to your point, the best decision was made here.
So that was going to be my question, Brad. You think this is best for all parties? I just the death of downtown sports in Dallas,
Yeah,
strikes me in a really negative way. And there was an opportunity, I suppose, at some point in time to try and keep the Stars in the AAC if the Mavs were going to abandon downtown Dallas,
mm-hmm.
but they want control of the arena, right? They want long-term control of the arena.
Right.
So,
The thing, right, as you've probably seen from traveling around major league parks, and you see what's happening in Atlanta, Sacramento. What's kind of become the going thing in sports is that new arenas are part of a larger
entertainment
development,
district, yeah.
365-day activation. Battery Park in the Battery area in Atlanta, I guess, is used as an example. But
The Battery is by far and away the most successful thing, and they have developed an area right there that works perfectly. We're in St. Louis. They've got a Live by Lowe's hotel and entertainment district, but the one that everybody cites is Atlanta, and it appears that we're going to try and have 3 different entertainment districts in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, with the Rangers Cowboys thing in Arlington
mm-hmm.
that is still growing, and then 2 up the tollway. It just, for me, it feels like what I said to Kevin yesterday was my immediate reaction was that I feel like the Mavericks have just. I want to hate the Mavericks for this. I think that there are some good outcomes here. The redevelopment of the Valley View Center, that the Mavericks get something without tearing down City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end of the day, what I arrive at is, over the last 2 years, all the disenfranchisement of the city and the fans that the Mavs have done, your first instinct is to say there's something afoot here and there was something backhanded done.
No. Listen, I've been covering this for more than a year here, and far be it from me to like be the Mavericks spokesperson. I'm just stating facts here, right? The Mavericks have bent over backwards they wanted to be downtown. I mean, most of the studies that Rick Welts has cited is that an urban arena is best for all. It's best for the franchise. It's certainly best for the city. That's what they did in San Francisco, that he oversaw in San Francisco. And so that's really the way they wanted to go. But I mean, they've given the city a lot of time on this, and their deadline from the day that the Dumont Adelson families purchased the Mavericks in December of 2023, they have been honing in on wanting a new arena and entertainment district to be ready by July of 2031. And so the clock has been ticking
Which is when the
ever
lease
loudly
runs out.
on this, and they have bent over backwards to get the city of Dallas to come up with good options. And it turns out that the only good option that they even put out there, the city of Dallas wasn't really saying this is definitely available. We don't know if that's going to be developed. So it's the timeline that became problematic.
Was there in your mind, Brad, was there any other tract in downtown or around downtown that would have worked?
I don't know of any specifically. I know that in the initial phases, probably like early, Rick Welts was hired in for starting January the 1st of 2025. The city, I guess, what I was told was they initially proposed 3 or 4 sites, but not all of them downtown. And I think Valley View was certainly one of the sites. But as both sides continue to analyze these sites, it really became a City Hall versus Valley View. I guess it was just hard to find a really good 50-acre tract besides City Hall, which is obviously, that's a gut punch for Dallas. I mean, there's no getting around it. I would have preferred a urban arena. I've been covering the Mavericks, going to downtown area arenas off and on for 32 years here, and think about what these last basically 28 hours were like for Kim Tolbert, the city manager. She had a noon meeting with Rick Welts on Monday, in which Rick Welts wanted to tell her, we've chosen Valley View. And then at 4:00 on the next day is roughly when she met with Brad Alberts from the Stars to be informed we're going to Plano. Now, talk about a 1-2 gut punch. Now, even though we knew the Plano thing was coming, that's tough for Dallas to stomach, obviously.
Well, a couple of things here. First of all, we need to point out that when we talk about the 2031, deadline, that was because that's when the lease runs out on American Airlines Center.
Right,
so
July 28th of 2031.
And secondly, from some of the people or someone I had talked to early on, there was some speculation that there was a site considered south of downtown that would have encompassed golf courses. If the casino thing had gone through at that point, if there was a reception to that, I think that's all kind of gone with the wind at this point. But I think that was the grand plan initially, was considering something like that. So
right, if you were going to have a resort connected to it, which that's what Mark Cuban told us in 2023, really kind of telegraphed this, that his vision was to partner with Sands, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. They told me that before they ended up selling to Patrick Dumont and Miriam Adelson, was to have the arena be part of a casino resort. Once you took out the resort and then now the casino aspect, that obviously changed a lot in terms of the quote unquote entertainment district that was going to be built around the arena.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, to me, if the Mavericks are at fault in anything here, it's that they decided to move right at all from an arena. And I guess, Brad, you get around and you've seen lots of other NBA arenas, and when they talk about and Rick Welch has talked about this a lot. Well, there are just things here that need to happen, and it's always kind of. I know we've written about it a little bit, but I just never get to express. So what exactly is it that's the matter with this arena? Now I know that there are premium upgrades that they want, so they can charge people a premium price on tickets. Is that all that it is, or is it really an outdated arena?
Well, I'll start with the last part of your question. American Airlines Center has aged remarkably well. I mean, I've been in all the arenas really all the arenas, all 30 NBA arenas. All of them were built in the 90s, early aughts. American Airlines Center has aged far better than all of them. I mean, the city has done the city and the teams, mostly the teams, the Stars and the Mavs, have done a really good job of putting money back into the facility and keeping it updated. That being said, when American Airlines Center was built it was finished in 2001, it was built for the Mavericks and the Stars to host hockey and basketball. Well, as time has gone on, we've seen in the more modern era, that is not good for the NBA team. The sight lines are not good for a basketball configuration, and I mean that for the fans, and then also even for the players, from a perspective of shooting at the basket, because the oval size in the arena is different, should be different. Obviously, the hockey rink is an oval shape. It's kind of hard to break down, but basically it's a bad place to play basketball from a sightline standpoint. Then you factor in that all of the new arenas have really luxury suites. I mean, the suites that are in American Airlines Center are fine, but they're not like lower level seats. They're not the kind of suites that are in modern NBA arenas, and specifically the Chase Center, and then the new arena in LA, the Clippers' new arena. That's what the Mavericks are after. They want a more, even though I don't know what it will seat. I'm imagining 18,000, but they want a cozier bowl setting, but with the accoutrements of having luxurious places for fans to go between quarters and before the game.
They want, like every club now, basketball, baseball, NFL, hockey, they want to better, for lack of a better term, they want to better segregate fans. It goes on at the Rangers ballpark at Globe Life Field, where fans come in on the main concourse and they can't access the lower bowl of the stadium because they just simply can't get down there. And it's one thing I find exceptionally distasteful about the modern stadium, but it is the business of the game that it feels more and more like fans are segregated. And I don't think it really adds a ton to the atmosphere, because those fans who have all those, particularly at baseball games, those fans who have clubs and things like that, they spend more time in the clubs than they do in their seats. And so you don't get any kind of atmosphere of fervent fans near the field.
So if I guess this is what we should have expected all along, right? When you are a developer on the scale of what the Sands is that they were not going to be satisfied with what anything as is, right? They were going to want to do something on a grand scheme, I mean, when you hire Rick Welch, you telegraph that, right? Because what he
Right.
did in the Chase Center. So that was all going to happen no matter what. I get the, look, I feel bad about there not being a team downtown, but I felt worse about the fact that the Rangers weren't there, because that's 81 games a year instead of just 41 games. That would have made a considerable difference if they had done that.
Yeah, but the Rangers are a big market club that thinks in a small market way.
Yes, they are. So I've written about this ad nauseum, about the sorry history of the city of Dallas and its pro sports teams, and how they've left town, left the Cotton Bowl, left everything to go off to Arlington and basically desert the urban core. I don't know that we'd expect the Mavericks to be any different. I know that everyone feels like that of all the things that have happened, with these, as people have called them, the carpetbaggers coming in and doing what they've done. I think this was all pretty obvious what they were going to do, except for the Luka thing, of course, and that was Nico Harrison generated, and I'm not really going to fault them too much for that. But that's why Mark Cuban should have seen all this coming as well. It's pretty easy to see that they would want to have their own gig. Now, as Evan points out, there is all of that, an entertainment district down there at Victory Park now. It's just that the Mavericks are not in control of it. And so they want their own space. They want to make their own money. It'll be interesting to see what happens now with that. So, Brad, has there been much discussion as you have done all this reporting about what happens to American Airlines Center if both organizations are gone?
Well, that has been one of the points that I've brought up with the Mavericks in recent days when reporting on this. We could do a whole separate podcast on American Airlines Center. I mean, both franchises are under lease through July of 2031, and there are repairs and updates that are overdue. And the Mavericks assure to me that that those will be made, that money will continue to be put into American Airlines Center. But the Stars, really neither team has any incentive, certainly not the Stars. And then you've got the whole legal battle that's been going on over control. Essentially, the battle is over control of American Airlines Center. And with the Mavericks, so far, at least in round one in Texas Business Court, they won all the motions. And so right now, legally, they control the Stars portion of the Stars half of American Airlines Center. And so both teams, American Airlines Center proceeds have been held in escrow for since like last October. And so that has got to be solved in the short term. How are the Stars going to go on from a business standpoint, even paying the players when that money's been frozen? And so, this spells doom for American Airlines Center. There's not going to be incentive to do what the Mavericks had proposed to do. As of last October, they thought the Stars had agreed to a $300 million upgrade of American Airlines Center for them to stay there. And the city had also promised to put money into that and also put money into a Stars training facility in the city of Dallas. And so all that is gone. The city is now going to have to go back to the drawing board on what's going to become of American Airlines Center when the teams leave in 2031.
Well, pretty much like that big old dinosaur that's sitting outside Globe Life Field across the street. We may lead the nation in vacant arenas.
We need storage centers for old arenas.
Yeah. It's all a mess. It's just interesting to me, though, that when we look at all this from the standpoint of stepping outside of sports, in City Hall, of course, and the fact that this will not, now there won't be a push to do this to get the Mavericks a place to play. And me personally, I feel like that. Yeah, I would like to keep City Hall. I'd like to keep what has been an icon, and I know that people complain about it. But just what you talked about, Brad, doing $300 million worth of repairs to American Airlines Center, that would cover most of the bill on what's supposed to be done at City Hall. And yet we talk about the repair of City Hall like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they would just throw all that money at that. Well, we talk about throwing it at arenas all the time.
Yeah. Of course, the difference here is that the Mavericks were going to actually fund most of that $300 million.
Well, I'm sure, and that was leading me to my next question, and I have not, maybe I just missed it, Brad, but who's going to foot the bill of all of this new development? Are the Mavericks going to do that?
That's the question that'll be the big question now that the site has been selected. It's something that I did specifically ask Patrick Dumont. I interviewed him in April. He only does these interviews like once a year,
and he only does them with you.
I very specifically asked him, is this going to what, you have continually said you are going to invest in the city of Dallas. They have done that from a standpoint of, helping to build gyms and making donations within the philanthropic donations. But the bigger investment is obviously this arena and entertainment district. And I point blank asked him, can you elaborate on what exactly you guys will be bringing? How much of this will be a private funding and how much will be public funding? And the only thing that he would commit to is that he said, well, certainly some of this will be private funding. He would not. I mean, let's be honest. Why would he tell me when they haven't even selected a site or how many acres? It's very hard for him to kind of put in hard numbers. Oh, we're willing to invest $500 million. Right. Now you see what's happened in San Antonio, and that number is going to have to come out because in San Antonio, in order to get the initiative, the taxpayer initiative voted on by the city of San Antonio residents, the Spurs did have to come forward and say, here's how much we're investing in this project. The difference here is that, now the Mavs own the land, both potential lands, the Irving and Dallas, where this project will be built. So there's probably not the urgency but as the planning and zoning of this start, I think the Mavericks are going to have to be more transparent about what they're bringing to the table versus what they're expecting the city of Dallas to bring to the table.
Well, I was just going to say real quickly, Evan, if I was Patrick Dumont and I was trying to make nice with the city of Dallas out of everything that's gone wrong since they have taken over ownership of the team, they need to foot the bill or most of the bill for this. And if they do that, that's going to at least show some good faith on their part because they're going to end up making a lot of money out of all of this in the long run. And they certainly have the wherewithal to do that. They have all the money in the world to do whatever they want. And I do remember, and this is all kudos to Mark Cuban and Ross Perot back when American Airlines Center was being built, right? Because that ended up going, the city's commitment, as I recall, was something around $150 million, wasn't it, Brad? Something like that.
Yeah, it might have been 125 actually.
And then whatever it was, I think they were going to split the deal, wasn't it? It was the initial cost, I think, was $250 million, and they were going to split it. And when it went to cost overruns, Cuban and Perot covered all of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would just say that the last 2 minutes have been a bunch of BS because owners have zero interest in investing into the city or the community. This is where pro sports has gone, is whatever revenue sharing plans there are in pro sports, they're all tied to the team and the team only. And so this is why ownership groups have all built these entertainment districts so that they can reap in the money and not have to revenue share it with players and leagues that have salary caps and not have to show it on the books in any kind of conversation for for CBA negotiations, and it's a sore point, particularly in baseball, because the Rangers play 81 games in that stadium, and the ownership group has created a entertainment spinoff group, which I'm sure Sands will do with their entertainment district, to bring in concerts and bring in graduations and bring in anything you want to in that multi-event center that is Globe Life Field. None of that revenue gets shared with the players in CBA talks. And owners in baseball, as opposed to other clubs, want a salary cap simply to control costs to raise franchise values. So, because they want to get in line with the NBA and the NFL and the other leagues. And I just feel like what we see more and more is that owners find loopholes to continue to get rich without investing into their talent, their community, or their city. And so I take all of this with a grain of salt. Whatever gets said, I don't believe it anymore.
Well, I'd like to just say that last minute was just total BS, Kevin. But not my point about. I'm not talking about them returning money to the community. I'm talking about the simple cost of building this arena. They need to foot the bill for it, or at least most of it, and not rely.
And
on
I'm
it.
saying that they will foot the minimum amount, bare minimum.
What's the minimum amount to you?
I don't know what that is, but it will be. They will commit the bare minimum.
Okay. Well, that's an easy thing to say. Bare minimum. We don't know what that's 75%, 40%, 30%, whatever that is. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying that these people are coming in and it's like they're sprinkling fairy dust on all the property around us and making the world better. But I would say this: I think that these at least are owners who appear to be willing to spend money, and whatever else they've done wrong, that puts them. Jerry Jones spends money. I would never say that, but he can also be as cheap as they come,
Right.
in getting what he wants from everybody. So,
Let me interject real quick here. So if you just want like a parameter, I mean, the good news is what's going on south of us on I-35 and north of us on I-35, using the Spurs as an example. Now, again, this is a larger development that's called Project Marvel. The Spurs and private partners have committed 2.1 billion to Project Marvel. 500 million of that is committed directly to the construction of the arena, plus a guarantee to cover 100% of any cost overruns, going back to the point that you made about the building of American Airlines Center and the Stars and Mavericks covering those overruns. I think that these things will be taken into account. You can't see what San Antonio has done and say, well, we're going to commit less than that.
No, I think that's a great point. All right. As Brad said earlier, we could talk about this forever, and there's a lot of stuff to be considered in all this, and we will talk about it some other time and have Brad back to talk about it some more. Thanks, Brad, for coming on with us.
Oh, I can't wait till that discussion.
Yes, sir. Always more. So we'll see you
Brad,
next time,
thank
Brad.
you.
Well, there goes Brad, and now it's time to talk a little bit about those Jekyll and Hyde Rangers. Before we get into the fact that they are actually starting to play baseball, as you put it, over the last 4 days, Evan, do you know what their record is in their division?
In their division right now?
Yes, sir.
Well, as we record this on Tuesday, within the American League West, the Rangers are 9-14, I believe.
Yuck.
Yeah, it's not been great. It's not been great. They had losing 5 out of 7 to the Astros is what puts them below 500 in the division right now. And then they were also swept by the Angels. So they have not played well against the bottom teams in the division. I will say this, Kevin, because I think this is the transition into what we want to talk about. Is it wasn't until after this Astros series that the Rangers have started to adopt a style of play that is different from what I've seen for the last 2+ years. and that is I hate to call it small ball because I don't think it's just small ball. I think it's fundamental baseball. It's making contact, it's using the big part of the field, shooting for line drives, and then when the situation calls for it, run optimization. Because I'm going to point out one stat here that I think is truly remarkable. The Rangers have 20 times this year scored first and gotten to at least 4 runs in a game. So score first, get to 4 runs in the game. When they do that, they are 19-1. They are the best team in baseball under those parameters. And so I think it's important for this team to understand, get out to a start early, do what you need to do to create a run, try to press that and pressure the other team, and then you can slug if you need to or want to. But I think that the Rangers have tried to do it backwards, and it hasn't worked for 2+ years.
Well, and I think that's all true, and that is a remarkable stat. But there's also kind of a feeling like, well, yeah, you're always trying to score, and so whether you can get out to an early lead or not, that's all well and good. I just feel like, Evan, this is a team, this personnel has shown us they're not capable of slugging. This is not a lineup full of 30 home run guys. There's maybe 2 guys in this lineup who could hit 30 home runs, maybe 3, but Jock Peterson is not one of those anymore. And so whatever they need to adopt, they need to be practicing that all the time. This is the way that you go. And
Yes.
and I think it's remarkable to see the guys who have adopted that this year. Josh Young gone back to hitting to all fields, pretty much like he was when he was at Texas Tech, and then they made him into a pull hitter and probably ruined his development in that.
I think they made him into more of a fly ball hitter.
Yes, they did. But they did want him to pull the ball as well. They weren't happy with him going to the opposite field. And then you look at what Zeke Duran has done the same thing. And he's using the whole field. And those 2 guys have had a remarkable turnaround. Now, whether these other guys can do it or not, we'll see. And I still think because of those guys doing what they've done, because they were getting 0 from those guys before. So you've got a significant upgrade from those 2 players. If the other guys would just do what they can do, meaning Corey Seager, Wyatt Langford, I don't know what to think about Evan Carter anymore. But
I think right now the needle on Evan Carter is definitely pointing downward, and he had a situation on Monday night in St. Louis with the Rangers leading 2-1, 2 guys on base, nobody out, late innings, to do something to add to that lead, and he had a horrible at bat, striking out on 3 breaking pitches below the zone. That's simply unacceptable. And this is a guy that, as we speak today, since that magical run at the end of 2023, he's played 165 games in the big leagues with a 205, 302, 364, 667 slash line. He's not shown improvement.
No, he's not. And I got to think that the clock's ticking on him, isn't it?
Well, this is a question. As Langford gets back, you're going to have the question of this: Do you put Evan Carter on the bench, or do you send him to the minor leagues, or what do you do with Alejandro Osuna? Because one of those 2 guys is not going to be in the lineup when Wyatt Langford gets back.
Yeah. Well, and it also brings up the question of what do you do with Langford from the standpoint, does he stay in left field or do you move him to center field if you got a question there?
Well, I think that what you would do with Langford if you sit Carter is you're going to put Langford in center field. I think that Osuna is better as a corner outfielder. He's had some issues on occasion getting reads on fly balls. I think he breaks back a little bit too much before he comes in, has to come in really hard. But I think that if you went that route, you would be fine with Wyatt. Wyatt Langford can win a Gold Glove in center field, is what Skip Schumacher has said in the past. Now, look, Evan Carter's played great defense in center field, and that's valuable. But right now, the offense is just it's subpar, and it's got to change.
Yeah, they can't carry him. They can't carry anybody at this point.
They can't
So
carry a one-dimensional player who doesn't contribute to the offense.
yeah, yeah. So Evan, does this change your feelings about anything that them playing a little bit more, as you said? Is kind of, we'll just call it small ball for lack of a better term, because of the things that you asked to do. Uh,
Call it
I want
pressure or opportunistic, but yeah, I mean small ball, sure.
I wanted to ask you about Jacob DeGrom. So did his last outing give you a little hope that he's remedied his problems with the fastball?
I think that what made Jacob so effective last night, his fastball on Monday night, he came out of the gate throwing 99, which is a little bit higher than he had been recently. But he threw 30% of his pitches were off speed uh, or curveballs, and that's a real change for him. He was throwing. He was really a 4-pitch pitcher against that Cardinal offense in 5 shutout innings, and he probably should have gone 6, but the Rangers had some problems with some ground balls in the first inning that upped his pitch count a little bit. I do think that Jacob is adapting a little bit more to trying to keep guys off of the fastball early in the game and making them change their eye level a little bit. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's the thing about him and Evaldi both. Whatever struggles they're going through, I don't write them off. They're both really smart guys and really talented guys. I don't think that either one of them has reached the end of the line, and I think that they tinker enough and they know themselves well enough to figure out what they need to do to get it right. I think
Again, I come back to this over and over again, Kevin. Pitching has not been the issue this year. Yes, there have been some more ragged starts for DeGrom and Evaldi than we were used to last year, but pitching has not been the Rangers' problem, whether it's the starting rotation or the back of the bullpen, which we thought was going to be an absolute catastrophe. And Jacob Latz has been spectacular back there. So, if the offense gives these guys a little bit of room to work with, it also becomes easier for DeGrom to challenge guys a little bit more. But when you have no room for error, you can't make any mistakes whatsoever.
one last question. Considering what you just said, if they were going to make a move at the deadline, would it be for offense now, you think, instead of pitching?
I still think that with what resources they have to trade, the likelihood is that they could get a piece for the bullpen more so than they could get any kind of real impact bat. And listen, the places where you thought you might have some issues going into the season, second base and third base, they've been, with Ezekiel Duran probably going to second base full time when Seager's back, they've been outstanding. Could the Rangers use another left-handed bat to occasionally spell Jake Berger at first base? Yeah, that might be a help. Or could they use a catcher? Sure, but good luck acquiring a catcher of any real offensive merit.
Yeah, you're not going to get a catcher. I mean, I wouldn't mind
It's
getting a
amazing,
guy.
Kevin. Like the Rangers catchers have done absolutely nothing offensively, and I think they're 15th in the league in catching OPS. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, somebody wrote me a few weeks ago and something about the catchers, and I said nobody's got a catcher.
No,
They're
it's
terrible.
amazing.
Yeah, they can't hit. All right, that's going to do it
I
for
would
our
think
podcast.
I would still think that I guess this is the cop out, but the easy answer for me is it's probably going to be a bullpen arm.
Yeah, and I don't really have a problem with that if these guys, because look, one bat's not going to do anything for you if the other guys aren't coming around. So they're going to have more guys come back, and Seager's going to come back.
Yeah, Seager's
Much
got to be
better than
Seager, and
Jackson.
Langford's got to be Langford. That's the biggest thing right now.
And if they get those two guys back and these other guys who've had good starts continue to do so, maybe that's enough. We'll see. It's a pitch and holds up.
Well, for sure. I mean, if you add an 850 OPS guy and a 775 OPS guy, and they do what they've done throughout their careers, both long and short, that adds a whole different dynamic to this offense, and it lengthens things out, and it makes it more effective. But they've got to come back and do that. I mean, as we sit here, Corey Seager's sitting on a month and a half long over 27.
Yeah, not good. All right, that's going to do it for our podcast. We thank you for listening in. We'll be back next week to talk about more of this stuff, and we hope you'll come back and listen some more. So from everybody in here to everybody out there, thanks, and we'll see you next time.